Pizza Tower is a fast-paced, side-scrolling action platformer developed by Tour de Pizza, an indie studio led by artist McPig, also known as Pizza Tower Guy. The project took nearly 5 years to release, all while being funded by Patreon. Tour de Pizza is a very small development team, consisting of the aforementioned McPig, programmer Certif, and musicians classically Cheeto, Post Elvis, and Mr. Sauceman. Pizza Tower's core gameplay was developed as a spiritual successor to the Wario Land series. Peppino's movesets, the various power-up based puzzles, and the overall fast-paced nature of the game all derive from Wario, the biggest inspiration being Wario Land 4. During development, Certif and McPig noticed that players of the various demos were enjoying the free-form movement over slower-paced puzzle solving, and chose to lean more heavily into the speedy aspect of gameplay. Pizza Tower's unique art style was inspired by cartoons like SpongeBob, Ren and Stimpy, and Courage the Cowardly Dog. The over-exaggerated expressions and pixel art go hand in hand to create the iconic look of Pizza Tower. McPig also listed Earthworm Jim and French comics as other visual inspirations. Pizza Tower was originally going to be a survival horror game made in RPG Maker, inspired by games like Resident Evil and Lisa. Feeling limited by RPG Maker, McPig moved on to Game Maker to produce a Ghosts and Goblins / Evil Dead type game where Peppino must fight against ingredients with his chainsaw-like pizza cutter. McPig found that the most enjoyable part of the game for him was doing the pizza cutter charge, and started developing the game to be more like Wario Land. Early footage of this concept can be found on McPig's YouTube channel in a video simply called Pizza Massacre. The video does display some platforming concepts that would eventually come to fruition. Pizza Tower's original name at this stage was Leaning Tower of Pizza. Pizza Tower wasn't McPig's first attempt at a side-scrolling platformer, as they were originally working on a game called Wieners Don't Use Drugs. The game would have the player choose either Detective Hot Dog or Cop Hamburger, collecting power-ups and fighting enemies, all while traversing the game's varying levels. Though Wieners never left production, the basis of Pizza Tower really came through in these early previews. It just goes to show how different the game could have been had the concept of Pizza Massacre never changed. The tutorial level has a familiar motif to fans of the PS2 game Spider-Man 2, particularly the pizza delivery segments. Both songs remix the theme of the song Funiculi Funicula, an 1880s Neapolitan song written to commemorate the first funicular railway on Mount Vesuvius. This now famous song was composed by Luigi Denza, and sung by a man ironically named Peppino Turco. During Fun Farm, Peppino will have to wear a chicken on their head to progress certain parts of the level. This chicken is Mort, the same character from the PS1 game, Mort the Chicken. McPig got permission from Mort's creator to use them in the game. The Noise is based on The Noid, an advertising character from the 80s for Domino's Pizza. The Noise's annoying personality and overall appearance are all nods to the character. In its original concept, the Noise worked for a company called Dominion, and was sent to stop Peppino from gathering the sacred ingredient, fearing that their competition would outsell them as a result. This sacred ingredient comes from the original idea for Pizza Tower, where Peppino's restaurant was failing so badly, his dead ancestor would apparate and tell him about the Pizza Tower, which houses the ingredients required to save the restaurant. If the player is playing in windowed mode, the application header changes based on the player's location in the game. Pizza Tower became so popular that it killed the official Discord due to too many new members. Thankfully for me, and any other Pizza Tower historians out there, the channels have all been set to read-only and are not completely lost to the annals of history. The song Meat Phobia is a slowed-down sting used in Jet Set Radio for when a spray paint is complete. This commonly used sample is from the Norman Cook Skip to My Loop sample pack. Pepperman used to be much larger than Peppino, but was resized to be playable in a certain level. Though he never became playable, his smaller stature remains, and he was also originally supposed to become lighter as a result of taking damage, eventually becoming pale yellow. An early concept for Pillar John's role in Pizza Tower would have been to deliver pizzas to him so he stops tilting the stage. Because of this, John is often referred to as Hungry Pillar in the game's files. This pizza delivery idea was eventually used in the Gustavo segments of Gnome Forest. Peppino's color scheme is based on Wario in Wario Land 3, and McPig confirmed that Peppino isn't wearing an apron but a white tank top over a black tee, unable to afford real chef attire. When the Noise was playable in demos, he had an analog dabbing mechanic, in reference to the same mechanic in Yo Noid Enter the Void. Different costumes for Peppino in-game aren't entirely separate sprite sheets, but simply a hue change to the white of his shirt and hat. The different stings at the beginning of each level are the motif of that level's theme. Despite the belief that Pizza Tower was drawn in Microsoft Paint, McPig actually produced the art using the program Sprite, opting to use the low pixelated graphics to not only emulate the Super Nintendo, but to make animation less difficult. This isn't an ad, but if you're looking for a good cheap pixel art program, then Sprite is the way to go. The artists for the Metal Slug games use it, so if that's not enough incentive, I don't know what is. The taunt sound effect is a Trumple sample from the James Brown song Get Up Off of That Thing. Speaking of the taunts, a number of poses are references to other media. To quickly name a few, Dr. Robotnik, Akuma from Street Fighter, Daffy Duck Zoot Suit, and Wario. There's also 3 removed and unused taunts referencing Dr. Robotnik, Peter Griffin, and Sonic Adventure. Pillar John is more damaged in the final level of the game. The lore behind John is that each entrance gate is the opening to a pocket dimension, and in order to destroy these dimensions, the pillar, aka John, needs to be destroyed in order to make it crumble. Mr. Stick, the inventor and businessman responsible for building the boss gates, was originally named Mr. Stiff, and was a character long before the concept of Pizza Tower, appearing alongside a character named Burton, but with his inclusion to Pizza Tower, his name was changed to Mr. Stick to avoid any unintended innuendo. Mr. Stick was actually supposed to be the 4th boss of the game before being replaced by fake Peppino. If the player waits on the main menu without pressing anything for too long, Peppino will jump scare them, then close the game. Peppino's moveset is inspired by several classic Nintendo games. His grab attack is based on the suplex ability from Kirby. His charge jump animation is inspired by Mario Bros. 2, and his body slam ability is based on the Virtual Boy version of Wario Land, to name a few. Speaking of his moveset, there was originally going to be 4 stages of Mach movement speed before the devs decided to reduce it to 3. The old Mach 1 animation is now used to show Peppino gaining speed. Jerome the Janitor is a recurring character throughout Pizza Tower, as he is a requirement to get into the janitor rooms. Jerome is actually Pillar John's brother, and was originally only collectible during Lap 2 and Pizza Time. Out of the 5 toppins the player has to collect in each level, 4 of them are nods to enemies in the game. Sausage, tomato, and pineapple are smaller versions of smoked weenie, pizzanto, and pinecool. Though cheese isn't a smaller enemy, they have a taunt that makes them appear like the cheese slime enemies. Though mushroom has no nods to a similar enemy, they do appear to be a smaller mushroom than the large bouncy ones in Gnome Forest. Speaking of pinecool, the enemy was originally supposed to taunt of their own accord to parry Peppino's attacks. This was instead changed to have him taunt at the same time as the player. The removed boss Cheese Dragon would have functioned the way bosses were supposed to originally, acting as obstacles in a fast-paced time trial and ending with a fight. When this concept was changed, Peppermint replaced Cheese Dragon as the first boss, though their entire behavior coding still exists in the game files. Cheese Dragon can still be seen in a secret room on the first floor of the hub. Snotty is a green cheese slime found in the Slum Hub. Killing Snotty and returning to the hub will show a gravesite with the stone reading Snotty and an image of him. Leaving Snotty alive and saving him during the final sequence will result in the player's save file getting the seal of approval from Snotty. Killing him afterward doesn't remove the seal. Snick is a character exclusive to the Sage 2019 demo of Pizza Tower. The character is a Pizza Tower-fied Sonic the Hedgehog and runs the Snick Amateur Games Expo in this demo, allowing the player to play 3 levels from the game, then Snick's Challenge, which is a combination of the 3. Completing Snick's Challenge allows the player to be the purple hedgehog himself and play through the demo. Snick has nearly identical moves to Peppino, but gradually increases speed while walking, can't collect coins or toppins, can burn out to instantly gain speed, and finishes levels by spinning a sign with his face on it. All references to Sonic the Hedgehog. If the player doesn't pick up the pistol during the Vigilante boss fight, after a while the boss will stare at the player, breaking the 4th wall, annoyed that the fight hasn't yet commenced. The Vigilante's moveset is actually based on the Worms series of games. The ghost that appears during the Vigilante boss fight is the character's dead grandfather, John E. Cheese, likely a nod to Chuck E. Cheese. John E. can be seen several times throughout Fun Farm in hanging pictures and as a scarecrow. Fake Peppino is a disgusting, uncanny spin-off of the original, with lanky yet droopy features that make him unsettling to look at. This boss will actually wear the same colored clothes as Peppino. Fake Peppino isn't the only copy of our main character, as seen in this boss fight, and this is actually explained. A Peppino-like being can be seen in a large tube, and various fake Peppino enemies during the level War means that Pizza Face has been cloning Peppino. This also explains why there are so many Pillar Johns, as right next to the Peppino tube is a John tube. War is also the only non-boss stage that doesn't have a Pillar John, opting instead for a refillable timer. A nice detail regarding the fake Peppino fight is that on the first attempt, he'll use Peppino's portrait as his own, but on subsequent attempts, his actual form will be displayed at the beginning of the fight. Unique escape themes for Pizzascape, Peppybot Factory, and Oh Shit, known as Small Fruit 5pm, Running with Pockets Full of Meatballs, and Toxic Rave, ultimately went unused in the final game. The golf title card is a reference to the cover of the 1993 release of Doom. In the bottom right corner of the crumbling tower of pizza title card is a small B. This is a reference to the B boss fight that was originally going to act as the game's 4th boss. The first introductory stage to Pizza Tower before the finalization of the tutorial was originally Oregano Desert. Then it was Pizzascape, before finally landing on John Gutter. Graffiti in the background of Oh Shit depicts Peppino drawn in the style of another Wario Land inspired game, Anton Blast. Pizza Scare was originally just a harder version of Pizzascape used in Noise's Hardoween demo, but was reworked in the final game. Because of this, the 2 levels share a secret theme and opening title card theme, though Pizza Scares is slightly off-key at the end. Don't Make a Sound is loosely based on the Five Nights at Freddy's series, despite creator McPig having never played the games. Sentient pizza parlor mascots jump scaring and trying to capture the player, and the implication that employees have been killed and stuffed into a suit all derive from this inspiration. In the background of Don't Make a Sound, an arcade cabinet of a game called Pizza Crawler can be seen. Pizza Crawler is a cancelled game starring Gustavo, in which the player would collect toppings in a pizza box to deliver to Pillar John. Upon delivering the pizza, Pizza Face would appear and chase the player out of the level. Before its cancellation, the game was described as a top-down, randomly generated roguelike dungeon crawler with turn-based grid movement. War was originally going to be on pizza time for the entirety of the level, but was instead replaced with the replenishable timer when grabbing the shotgun. The Crumbling Tower of Pizza is the only main level without a title card jingle, secrets, second lap, and toppins. Because of this, the P-rank requirements are the lowest of any level, requiring only 5,500 pizza points and a constant combo throughout. Originally, Refrigerator Freezer was going to have a mechanic that would melt or freeze water and ice based on a temperature gauge, but was ultimately scrapped. This level was also originally going to feature a playable Peppermint and the Noise, but that never came to be in the initial release either. Pizza Tower has an insane amount of sprites and animations. According to the Sprite resource, Peppino alone has over 5,000 unique sprites. People who pledged $20 or more to the Pizza Tower Patreon in 2019 were given the opportunity to add their Pizza Sona to the game. These Pizza Sonas are featured in secret areas of the game and offer players 150 points per Sona collected. The Pizza Boy mascot seen throughout the game is likely based on a younger version of Pizza Head, a subtle foreshadowing of the game's final boss. When time runs out during pizza time, Pizza Face will appear and float towards the player, which when touching causes a timeout. During this, when Pizza Face gets closer, mechanical whirring can be heard from him, foreshadowing the Pizza Head reveal. The Noise was originally playable in demos of Pizza Tower. Pizza points were replaced by candy since the Noise hates pizza. Fake Peppino would have been replaced by the Doys as they appear in the background of Pizza Scare, and the character's moveset would be drastically different than that of Peppino. There are still plans to bring back a playable version of the Noise in a future update, but to what extent is unknown.